Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Proud to be a part of this once again, and glad to see so many of you coming out this evening. I do want to inform you, though, that because of the time that it took me to get here, the number one question now for all candidates will be, when do we need a second bridge between Wilmington and Brunswick County? Even school board members will be asked that same question. No, we do have questions that were brought up by the membership of the ABC POA. I'll be asking those questions, and again, as we did in the event that I did last week, we will try to have each one of the candidates not always be asked first, not always follow the same candidate. We'll try to mix it up as best as we possibly can. We do have 1 minute for each one of our candidates to have an opening statement, and we'll begin with the candidate running for the seat in District 3, Katherine Cooke. Katherine, 1 minute for an opening statement, please.
It's actually District 2, but that's okay.
Oh, District 2, okay.
Well, I just appreciate y'all having the forum tonight, and I have been on the board for the last two terms, and I'm running for a third term. And when I started my career, I guess, as a school board member, I had 4 children in school. Now I have one daughter who has graduated and is now a teacher in the Brunswick County schools. I have a second daughter that's in college, and I still have 2 children in high school. So I'm an active duty parent in the school system as well as a board member.
Thank you, Katherine. Next, we will go to the candidate in District 4, I believe is correct, right? Okay. We will go alphabetically. Marty Mentzer. Marty, 60 seconds, please.
First, I want to thank the BCA POA for hosting this event, and I want to thank 2 organizations that have endorsed my candidacy. That is the Brunswick County Association of Realtors and the Brunswick County Association of Educators, and all my fine colleagues that came to support me tonight. Why am I running for school board? I have dedicated 30 years in service as an educator in Brunswick County schools, working beside some of the finest people, my colleagues, our teachers who give from the heart and from the wallet all the resources our children need in order to learn. Who better to serve on the school board than the one who's walked a mile in a teacher's shoes with the experience of a classroom, who gets it? I provide the missing piece on the school board, the connect and the respect. Ever so often a teacher gets a special letter, and I'd like to read it as my motivation tonight. Dear Coach Mentzer, you have taught me how to deal with anger and how the pen is mightier than the sword. Through time, I bettered myself through poetry, and I'm honored to be with you for 3 years in Basketball Poets. I will miss the days of learning new words and still be fortunate, and I'm sorry for the students who missed you by a year and how close they were. You are a great woman, and I'll surely vote for you, and that's for every teacher out there that has received such a letter. That's why I'm running for school board. Thank you.
Ms. Mentzer, thank you. Next for an opening statement, District 4 candidate Ellen Milligan. Ms. Milligan, 60 seconds.
Thank you, John, and thank you to the Brunswick County Property Owners Association for sponsoring the event. My name is Ellen Milligan. I am a former teacher, principal, curriculum specialist, and central office director. I spent 28 years in Brunswick County schools, some of the best days I've ever had in a career, because I did have a career previous to that in business. However, education has been my goal for myself, for my children, for my family, and for everyone else's families, because we know education is where it all starts. And I would like to say that in regard to qualifications, I am qualified. I have a Master of Education from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. I have specialty studies from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and also at the University of South Carolina. I am qualified. I am ready to serve the students and faculty and staff of Brunswick County Schools, and I look forward. It will be an honor if you select me to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mentzer, we're going to ask you for the first response to the first question, ma'am, if I can. And it's about teacher turnover. The Brunswick County teacher turnover rate of 14.91% is double the rate of Horry County at 7% for the 2014-15 school year. So the question, ma'am, what's causing this high turnover, And what as a school board member can you do to reduce the expense associated with it?
I know as my colleagues that I support tonight, that we are experiencing a teacher turnover. 1 out of every 5 teachers is leaving Brunswick County. This is because over the state line in South Carolina, they pay $10,000 a year more. We have got to do something in Brunswick County to retain our quality teachers. Like I said, these are some of the finest folks I know, and the morale is a little low, and it's going to take some RESPECT, some respect for our profession that's been taken away from us in Raleigh. When we've lost teacher assistants and lost master's pay and lost longevity pay, when you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in North Carolina, and then they say we are receiving a raise, that just is, ask a teacher for a fact check and to know the truth on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cooke. What is causing the high turnover rate in Brunswick County schools, and what, as a school board member, can you do to reduce the expense associated with it?
Well, having been on the board for 8 years, it's really out of our hands. It is at the state level, but we have given a raise from the state level. The last couple of years, there was a freeze on teacher salaries when the former governor, and after the other governor came in, the teachers have received a salary raise. We've tried to do things locally with local supplements, and we're continuing to look for the money that we can use for that. But in the meantime, a lot of our hands are tied, and we have to look to the state for those funds.
Ms. Milligan, I ask you, ma'am, what is causing the high turnover rate in Brunswick County schools, and what, as a school board member, can you do to reduce the expense associated with it?
I think there are several factors that causes teachers to leave our county. Number one, I believe that they do need to be served better economically. That means that we do need to look at how to increase supplements and how to reinstate longevity. As Ms. Mentzer said earlier, if we need to work through Raleigh for that to happen, then we need to get about the business of that process. Also, morale and a lack of respect, because teachers are not acknowledged for their expertise. We have some of the greatest teachers anywhere in Brunswick County, and we have those that go beyond the call of duty. There's just no way to say how much time they spend in their teaching and getting ready to teach. But what we would need to do, again, is to work with Raleigh, work with our county commissioners, and
Thank you, ma'am.
go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, as you can see, our fourth candidate has joined us, Sharon Crawford, the District 2 candidate. Sharon, I'll make sure you have the opportunity to give your closing statement, but I want to give you the response to the question, ma'am. You heard it as I asked it a couple of times. What is causing the high turnover rate in Brunswick County schools, and what, as a school board member, can you do to reduce the expense associated with it?
We all know that pay is an issue. I heard a candidate said last week that what we need to do is pass out cookies. Well, last time I checked, cookies didn't pay a light bill. Cookies didn't put groceries on the table. I think that we need to support our teachers. A lot of times they feel like we as parents don't support them, the administration don't support them. They're dealing with not only an overload of students, but they're also dealing with behavior issues, and many of them don't have teachers' assistants to assist them, so they feel like they're out there on their own. I think that if we support them with a pay raise and also with, let them know that we have their back, a lot of the teachers feel like they're on their own.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Milligan, I'm going to ask you for the first response to the next question, ma'am, if I can. The backdrop is this. The principal amount of $152 million appears to be a pricey sum for a relatively low and dispersed populated county, speaking about the school bond issue. The question, how do you respond to the observation that the spending plan appears to be a grab bag of something to placate everyone's wish list in lieu of limited necessities?
I have actually looked at the bond. I have driven around the county. I have matched what's on the bond in terms of priority to what is being asked for and what is actually needed. I do not believe it's a grab bag. I do believe that we need that bond to have additional schools built to alleviate overcrowding, and I am in support of that bond.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mentzer, how do you respond to the observation that the $152 million school bond spending plan appears to be a grab bag of something to placate everyone's wish list in lieu of limited necessities?
I have served on the bond committee, and I will tell you a story. I was talking with two parents of a teacher that voted for me yesterday, and they told me about their daughter that had to run out to the school before the storm came with buckets and tarps and cover those valuable educational supplies and materials with her resources to take care because the leaky roof was going to ruin her educational materials. We need quality facilities in which teachers can teach creatively, not overcrowded classrooms that are mobile units that are unsafe. These are needs, capital needs, for a Town Creek Middle School that will provide the overcrowding that is happening at Leland to be alleviated. We need these things. It's not a wish list. And if you had wanted to be involved and know, it's on the Brunswick County Schools website. There is much information that the public can have, and I truly support that bond as a cost-effective way to use our tax dollars.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Crawford, how do you respond to the observation that the $152 million school bond spending plan appears to be a grab bag of something to placate everyone's wish list in lieu of having limited necessities?
I agree with the other candidate. I do not believe that it is a wish list. When I was a student at West Brunswick High School, we had trailers. Well, it's 2016, and I graduated, not to show my age, but in 1986, and we still have those same trailers. When is it going to change? We keep talking about a change in our society, a change in our education. We haven't even changed the buildings. We haven't upgraded, but yet we expect for the education to be upgraded. We have to start at the foundation, which is us. We, the school board, need to make a difference.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cooke, how do you respond to the observation that the $152 million school bond spending plan appears to be a grab bag of something to placate everyone's wish list in lieu of having limited necessities?
Well, having been on the school board and gone through this process, we've been talking about a bond for a number of years. And quite honestly, I do not support the bond at this time. It started as a lot of items that the school needed, and then it did change, and it changed a lot. And I know the research went behind it as far as what the needs were. But I feel right now we're still paying off an old bond, and I know it's not very much, but I feel like there are resources in this county that have not been exhaustively researched that we could use. There's some buildings that are around that are underutilized within the school system, as well as some other buildings in the county. And I just feel like right now we need to exhaustively research this and come up with some other creative financing, as well as the support of our county commissioners who have supported our building and capital needs the last couple of times that we've asked for things.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Crawford, I'm going to ask you for the first response to the next question, ma'am. And we're talking about the $152 million bond again. The proposal as it stands devotes about 15% to athletic facilities. So do you think this is an appropriate amount, or should more of the bond be focused directly supporting academic needs of the county schools?
I understand the needs for athletics, but there are so many other uses that we could use that for, maybe narrow it down from 15% maybe to maybe 5%. I think that as far as our education, the buildings, the structures that our students are in, that would actually utilize more students than the athletic department. Everybody in the school is not an athlete. What about those percentages that aren't? They will never utilize that 15%. So I think it needs to be spread out differently.
Ms. Cooke, the bond proposal devotes almost 15% to athletic facilities. Do you think that's appropriate, or should more of the bond be focused directly on academic needs?
Well, I guess I'm opposed to it to begin with. I'll answer from this aspect. I think there are a lot of needs in the school. I think the arts has kind of missed out on the boat all along. It's been proven that children that are involved in music and art and other skills they have their learning is accelerated through those processes. And I think we need to focus more on the arts. Athletics are definitely important, but I'm not sure what kind of percentage is really fair to say as far as athletics, arts, academics, and buildings. I'm really not sure what the actual percentage would be.
Ms. Milligan, the bond proposal devotes about 15% to athletic facilities. Do you think that's appropriate, or should more of the bond be focused directly on academic needs?
Athletics is an integral part of any school system, basically. We are not going to do away with athletics. Therefore, the students need to be in the safest environment possible. And as I stated earlier, I have driven around to the different schools. I have matched the needs on the list of bond needs to what's actually in the physical plant of the school. And I do believe we should support the athletics in our schools.
Ms. Mentzer, do you believe that the 15% devoted to athletic facilities in the bond is appropriate, or should more of it be focused directly on supporting academic needs?
Well, I'm going to agree with our superintendent, Les Tubb, that there are 3 A's. They are academics, arts, and athletics, and they go integrally together. The reason there is cost on the athletic end is the North Carolina High School Association of Athletics requires certain things and standards by Title IX for equal facilities for our women athletes that are lacking at this time. I will tell you the cost of the bond so that you do know it's a good sell. It's $80 per year on a $200,000 property, and that includes paying off the 1999 bond that Mrs. Cooke spoke of. So that's a cost-effective way. It comes down to a $1.50 cup of coffee a week, which I'm willing to give up for our students to have the facilities they need.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Milligan, I'm going to ask you for the first response to the next question, if I can. How should school board members balance their sometimes conflicting obligations to both students and taxpayers?
I think when you're looking at money or funding from taxpayers, that you need to make absolutely certain that you prioritize. In other words, board members would have to prioritize how to spend our taxpayers' money. We don't want to go out and just waste it on any frivolous thing. We need to go in, we need to assess what the money is currently being used for, and then we need to make a determination, is that where we can get the most effect in a positive manner for student learning with our funding available?
Ms. Cooke, how should a school board member balance their sometimes conflicting obligations to both students and taxpayers?
I really don't understand the question. How could it be conflicting for the students if you're doing something for the students at the taxpayer's expense? I don't know if there's a conflict. I would think that the taxpayers would be supportive. And I think as a school board member, they would just have to trust that we'd be fiscally responsible in whatever choices we were making.
Ms. Mentzer, how should a school board member balance their sometimes conflicting obligations to both students and taxpayers?
Well, my promise on my platform is to spend tax dollars wisely, and unfortunately, the current board had not done so at times when they hired and fired superintendents, and $200,000 of our tax money bought out those contracts and could have gone and should have gone directly to our schools and our teachers and our students, first of all. So I would look and be an overseer that money that you spend, because good schools enrich our community and its economy. They draw in the good families, and I know everybody supports a quality public education for their community. It's just we need to make sure that money, as a school board member, because we're insured, we're insuring you as our taxpayers that you are getting the best bang for your buck, and that's what I want to give you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Crawford, how should a school board member balance their sometimes conflicting obligations to both students and taxpayers?
I think the priority should be on the students. If we support our students, then taxpayers should support the Board of Education. I think the problem is a lot of times the Board of Education is not utilizing the funds appropriately. If you go up to the administrative office, you'll find the administrator has an assistant, and then the assistant has an assistant, and then there's a secretary, which is another assistant. That's money that's wasted. I think that we need to look at these positions and spread those funds out among the students as well. I think that we are not prioritizing the needs of the school system when it comes to the bus drivers, when it comes to the teachers. They're overwhelmed. And, you know, I was told today that one of the board members made a statement that they could drive a bus. Well, right now, the school system is short about 40 bus drivers. So where are the school bus, the board members that said that they could drive a bus? You see what I'm saying? It's easy to say, hard to do.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cooke, I'm going to ask you for the first response to the next question. Although some improvements have been made in the overall test scores for the county, Brunswick County still lags behind many other districts in North Carolina. The question, what specific plans do you support to improve the test results of our students?
Well, at one of our committee meetings last week, some of the underperforming schools have been, have to go through a process through DPI, and two or three of the principals were there with the underperforming schools, and they said although the process was very lengthy and very involved and exhaustive, they felt it was very helpful in finding where they were lacking and what they needed to do as a school to help improve the grades of those students. We already have something in place for the county for underperforming schools, but they said that they thought this model was really good and that they would like to see it adopted in all the schools if there was a need. So hopefully some of these things through DPI and through some of the research to see how to better effectively manage the teachers, and if they need professional development, then to get that professional development for them so that they can accelerate the learning of their students.
Ms. Mentzer, what specific plans do you support to improve the test results of Brunswick County students?
Well, first of all, let's celebrate what we're doing right. 82% of our eighth graders passed the science test last year. That's an achievement. We need to look at what we're doing right and have the other subject areas, look at those teachers and how they can use that to better teach to help those students achieve in those areas. However, when students enter the school 2.5 years behind developmentally, we've also got to do something to help enrich them as they enter, like preschool, things that they can have the resources they need when they enter the school in the first place. Also, look at our innovative teachers. We have teachers that are doing good jobs teaching and are raising up the test scores. I had the blessing of having a program called Basketball Poets that took low readers from 1s and 2s on the test to 3s and 4s. So there are innovative teachers out there doing the job, and I would support looking at the research with them. It's data-driven research that we do in the schools to improve our test scores.
Ms. Crawford, what specific plans do you support to improve the results of students in Brunswick County schools?
I think we need to look at each student as an individual. We can't put everybody in the same sack and expect for them to get the same attention and goal achieved. In our classrooms, we have some students that are audio learners. They learn better by hearing. Then there are others that are visual learners. We need to look at each student as an individual. We can't say that we're going to teach everybody math the same way. My child may not be able to comprehend it as well as your child can, but that doesn't mean that my child is not able to learn. It just means that maybe the teacher needs to look at how my child is able to obtain the knowledge.
Ms. Milligan, what specific plans do you support to improve the test results of Brunswick County students?
As Marty mentioned earlier, we do have data-driven instruction in our schools, and we have a little very, very important program called EVOS that, as Ms. Crawford just mentions, that helps us drill down to that individual child, and it helps us to know more about what is happening with that student. And this is a very important tool. I would support going into the classrooms, acknowledging the teachers for their expertise, because some of our great teachers are getting it done. And these people are the ones that need to be discussing it with others that may be having a little bit of difficulty. Use that together. Teachers teach teachers with EVOS data and move on from there.
Thank you, ma'am. We do want to give audience members an opportunity if they'd like to ask the questions of the candidates. Once again, it's going to be a question that all of the candidates can answer. And please, the shorter your question, the more questions we can get in. I'm going to ask one more, but if anybody does have a question they'd like to ask, they can stand up to the microphone if they can. Okay, we have somebody right there. That was quick. Okay, ma'am, please state your name and what's your question, please?
Colleen Combs, my question is, what is your opinion on charter schools and how might charter schools help improve the situation of the district?
Okay, your opinion on charter schools. Let's go to Ms. Crawford first. Ms. Crawford?
I like the idea of charter schools, but I was raised in a public school. I know a lot of members of the boards, 2 or 3 of them, never attended public school. So I think that if you don't attend public school, it's hard to relate to the public school situation. I think that charter schools, they do have a place in this society because when I was in military schools, it was like a charter school. The parents were held accountable for what my student did. And I think that if we brought that ideal to our public school system, it could actually be on the same level as a charter school.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Milligan, your opinion of charter schools, please, for 60 seconds.
I support school choice because I believe every parent should have the opportunity to choose where his or her child will go to school. I do, however, and will always be a public school proponent because I am a public school product, as are my children and the majority of my families. However, I will say this. I have enough confidence in Brunswick County schools, in our human resources, our teaching personnel, and all of our support staff that we can compete with any charter school or any private school.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mentzer, your opinion of charter schools, please, ma'am. 60 seconds.
Charter schools use public tax dollars, so they need to be accountable and transparent. Quality public education should be ensured, as Ellen said, and information should be released to the public and not held back from the public they serve. That was the one problem I saw with not releasing information to the public. If it is run by a private rather than a nonprofit, that you have to be careful because there can be misuse of funds. Students need to come first, and our tax dollars need to be insured, and the quality public education that comes from our Brunswick County schools needs to be best in the state. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cooke, your opinion on charter schools, please.
Well, I'm, as well as advocate for choice, I support charter schools, I support private schools, because as Ms. Crawford says, it's not one size fits all. Children need different things at different times. My children themselves have been in private school, I've homeschooled them, and they've been in public school. I graduated from a public high school, and my children have graduated from public high schools. So I support a parent's choice.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to do your question and then this question. Ma'am, I'm going to have somebody else, please.
I
You
just
had your
want-
oppor-
I would
You
just
had your
like to-
opportunity, ma'am.
Just like to say that
You had-
charter schools are
you-
public schools.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to do your question, ma'am, and then we'll do one more, Tom, and then we're going to move to a closing statement. Go ahead, ma'am. I'm sorry, your question and your name.
Thank you very much. My name is Helen Panulo. I continuously hear that teachers get no respect, and I always hear the answer that more money will bring them the respect. What else can the Brunswick County Public Schools do to increase the feeling of the teachers that they are respected and
Okay.
that the public feels that they are respected?
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mentzer, let's start with you.
Well, as a colleague, I know that my fine colleagues out there, we work every day so hard and we lift each other up. We find a way to laugh and work hard together and keep our morale high, but it is getting harder and harder to do more and more with less and less. And no, it's not all about the money, and I'll quote June Atkinson, our superintendent of public instruction, when she said, a teacher doesn't go into teaching expecting to become a millionaire, but they do expect to not have to take a vow of poverty. And I know teachers that are working 2 or 3 jobs outside of teaching, that they're trying to feed their families. And so I'm asking for fair pay for an honest day's work, and teacher supplements can be raised. If we can find ways to raise the salaries of school board members, for example, then we can find ways to raise our teacher salaries.
Ms. Cooke, I'm going to ask you to respond to that question, please, ma'am. And we're only, I'm sorry, Brad, but I'm only going to do Tom first, just for time purposes, okay? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Katherine.
I think the parents need to support the teachers more, and I think that the administration, as well as Marty was saying, the teachers work with each other. The administration supports the teachers, but we have a huge base of community volunteers in this county, over 2,000 volunteers, and I think the community support that each school has been tremendous, and these community members can come in and also encourage the teachers' morale as well.
Ms. Crawford, your answer to the question, please, ma'am?
Yeah, I do believe that the teachers need more support, but there was a time when teachers had TAs, teachers' assistants. The teachers' assistants were able to help them with the lesson, able to go out and make copies and help with discipline actions. Now teachers don't have that assistance anymore. They're responsible for the discipline actions in their classrooms. They're responsible for making copies, doing the grades, and it's putting a heavy load and burden on the teachers. They take pride in just focusing on the education process because they're too busy handling disciplinary actions within the classroom. I think that we need to give them the support, not only with the pay, but also with the structure. I think we need to put the TAs back into the classrooms.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Milligan, your response to the question, please.
I believe the first thing we need to do is show the teachers just what a valuable resource they are to our school system. We have some awesome, talented teachers. They don't always get credit for that awesomeness and talent. And when they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and doing it very well, they don't need someone coming in beating them over the head with something. As Marty said earlier, we need to celebrate what's right. We have lots of teachers who are doing the right thing at the right time in the right place. And we have got to acknowledge those teachers for their worth in our school system.
Thank you, ma'am. Tom, your question, please.
Sir. There's some discussion in the General Assembly about switching over from a defined benefit retirement plan to a contributory benefit plan. Which one of those two plans would you support as school board and why?
Let's start with Katherine. Can you do that one first, please?
I would actually like to research that more, so I don't want to give an answer until I really understand it better. I'll just be honest with you. So I'm really not sure what would be the best option.
Ms. Crawford?
I'm not sure either.
Ms. Mentzer?
Well, North Carolina state employees, including teachers, have one of the best retirement systems in the nation. A defined benefit means that you get that benefit that you paid into, matched by the school funds, that for a lifetime. And for our teachers who need that morale boost and need that, a defined benefit would guarantee them that benefit that I'm receiving. The contribution can waver with the market. And so if the market's up, okay, we might be doing good. But then again, teachers don't need a low blow, like Ellen said. If the market went down and they were to lose their retirement, we need to draw in teachers with that strong retirement system that we have in North Carolina. It's one of the best. So let's use that as a selling point. And from the school board, I would have that knowledge to let those teachers know I would defend the defined benefit.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Milligan, your response, please, ma'am.
We do have an excellent retirement system in Brunswick County and state of North Carolina. What I would suggest is that the money that we have placed there in their trust be left alone just for the retirees. And that way, we could ensure that our retirees would be able to survive at least adequately after they have left our system.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate the questions coming from the crowd. We have enough time to give each one of our school board candidates a 60-second closing statement. So we will begin with a 60-second closing statement from District 4 candidate Ellen Milligan. Ms. Milligan, 60 seconds, please.
Thank you. As a school board member, my goal is to focus on 3 areas. Number 1, vocational studies, making sure that our students are truly college and career ready by placing more emphasis on vocational education in our high schools and fostering apprenticeships and on-the-job training programs with business and industry. Also partnering with community colleges in ways that will expedite student learning and putting skilled individuals in the workforce. Number 2, human resources, ensuring we have the faculty and staff to go about the business of education both effectively and efficiently by recognizing teachers as informed and valuable members of our school system and seeking financial means to increase supplements and reinstate longevity pay. Number 3, financial responsibility, keen oversight of revenue and expenditures to make sure spending is appropriate to best benefit the learning process without wasting taxpayer funds.
Okay.
If you believe, as I do, that children are our most valuable resource, please cast your vote for me, Ellen
Ms.
Milligan,
Milligan.
District 4.
Thank you, ma'am. Next for her closing statement, 60 seconds, Marty Mentzer. Ms. Mentzer.
Once again, thanks to all my colleagues who support me. I support them, and I support public education for all our students. I propose 3 ways to provide a quality public education here in Brunswick County Schools. Stop the rising dropout rate. All students are not engaged in education, and we've let them down by not offering the trades and vocational skills. I propose that we create a school that is just as prestigious as the early college high school for that. And honor that skill. We need those skills in the workforce. And so I propose that, number 1. And number 2, I've already spoken to spend the tax dollars wisely with the $152 million bond that I support. And to retain our quality teachers, I'll be the school board member that's going to step into the school, that's going to be there at the band concerts and the ball games and cheering them on. That will lift their morale. I have been there 26 years, most recently retired, and I'm still refired for education. I'm Marty Mentzer, energetic for education. I'd ask for your vote this election. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, for our closing statements from our 2 candidates from District 2, we'll begin with Sharon Crawford. Ms. Crawford, your closing statement for 60 seconds, ma'am.
Yes, I am new to this situation as far as being on the school board. I don't have a lot of experience, but one thing I do have is knowledge when it comes to what my children need in the school system. I think that we need to use the vocational money towards going towards like BCA. We have BCA there, but we're not utilizing BCA to its big capacity. We could use that school to help fund the vocational services that Ms. Marty talked about. I think that we need to hire within our county. A lot of times, if there's a top position available in the county, I don't know how many of you've noticed it or not, but we'll get somebody from out of state to fill that position rather than hire somebody within our county. It makes it seem as if we don't think that we have capable people here in Brunswick County to fill these positions. I think that we need to hire within our county. I think that that ought to be one of the things that qualifies you for a position here. I think that we ought to reinstate teachers' assistants. We've taken a lot of them out of the school. I think that we ought to support them with the hiring process. And I think that we also should support the other administration within the school system. I'm Sharon Crawford. Please vote for me, a parent just like you.
Thank you, ma'am. And for our final closing statement this evening, District 2 candidate Katherine Cooke. Ms. Cooke, 60 seconds, ma'am.
Well, I've been the parent voice on the board for the last 8 years, and one thing we really didn't touch on tonight was mental health, but I think that's a huge area that we really need to focus on in our schools now because a lot of children are coming to school with a detriment as far as services that they really need to connect, and I think as a parent, I've been able to help some parents connect those resources, and I would just like to continue to serve you for the next 4 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 4 candidates running for positions on the New Hanover County School Board. Please give them a round of applause. Ladies, thank you for taking time of your night this evening. We appreciate you once again speaking out to the voters and answering their questions. Thank you.